It's time to get unstuck. Do you love listening to this podcast? I'd love to have you give me a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts or on your favorite podcast app. And if you'd like to help me keep the lights on, I'd appreciate a donation. You can do that at livingmoonmeditation.com/podcast. Are you tired of feeling stuck? Let's shift your energy. Start with my free quiz I made just for you. You'll get personalized tips for getting unstuck based on where your blocks are. You can find it at bit.ly/getunstuckchakraquiz. I have the link in the show notes for you. Let's talk about numerology. It is the use of numbers and number combinations in divination. Numerology is often used for psychic readings, and in numerology, each number corresponds to a meaning. And those numbers also correspond to the letters of the alphabet. Now, it's thought that these meanings and correspondences are interpreted and charts are made for divination. So, let's dive in to an intro to numerology. And then over the next couple of weeks, we'll talk a little more in depth about ways to use it for your personal practice. Now, numerology works with the numbers 0 through 10, and any number larger than 10 is broken down by adding the two digits of the number together to get a single digit number. Now, sometimes the number 10 is broken down, and sometimes it's not. It depends on the practitioner who's doing the numerological reading, that kind of thing. But in general, any number larger than 10 is broken down, but 10 is not. Again, that's in general terms. So I'm going to go over some explanations of the generally accepted meanings of the numbers 0 through 10. And again, these are the generally accepted meanings, so every practitioner, every numerologist is going to have maybe some slight differences or variations in how they look at the meanings of the numbers, depending on the system they're using, that kind of thing. Or if they're doing all of their readings completely intuitively, they may have intuitive hits on number meanings that are different than the generally accepted meanings of the numbers. But for our purposes, I'm going to give you the generally accepted meanings. So 0 means everything and nothing all at once. 1 is a singular number and means the individual. 2 means balance or a pair. 3 is communication. 4, creation. 5, action. Now, 5 can also mean abundance. So, again, it depends on the system that you're using for numerology. So, action or abundance. 6 is responsibility. 7 represents the mind or thought. 8 represents power or infinity, depending on how you look at it. 9 means the end, and 10 means to begin again. Now, the meanings of numbers vary according to every numerologist. I already said that, so just keep that in mind. But the above meanings that I just gave are a good representation of the number meanings that are most often used. If you're delving into numerology for the first time, and the meanings that I just gave you do not you don't resonate with them, that's okay. I don't resonate with a lot of the generally accepted meanings. So, again, those are generally accepted meanings. It doesn't mean that if you have a meaning for a number that is different than the one I just gave, it does not mean that your meaning is wrong. It doesn't mean that the generally accepted meaning is wrong either. It just means that for you, the generally accepted meaning is wrong. Because we're individuals and we have individual ways that our guides communicate with us. So always go with your intuition, and if a number meaning is different for you than the generally accepted, that is okay. Go with what your intuition, what your guides are telling you. Now, sometimes the numbers 11 and 22 are assigned special meaning and are not broken down. Now, I mentioned that any number above 10 is generally broken down into a single digit number, but 11 and 22 are often exceptions to that rule. So you're going to see that sometimes in numerology. Now, oh yeah, and about 11 and 22, they are some of the most meaningful numbers in numerology. Now, I talked about number meanings. Let's talk about how the numbers relate to the letters of the alphabet. For this, the numbers 1 through 26 are used because there are 26 letters in the English alphabet. And we are talking about English here and other languages that have 26 letters. Different systems will use different interpretations for letter number meanings, but I'm going with English here because for most part my audience is English speaking. So the numbers 1 through 26 are used because there are 26 letters in the alphabet. Now, usually in numerology reports, a person's name is written out and then labeled with a number for each letter. So A would be 1, B would be 2, all the way to Y is 25, and Z is 26. So, we'll take the name Sue as an example. S-U-E. S is 18, U is 20, and E is 5. So we have 1825. Now we're going to break these numbers that are double digits down into single digits, right? And we're going to do that by adding the two numbers together and getting a single digit. So 18 becomes 9 because 1 plus 8 is 9. 20 becomes 2 because 2 plus 0 is 2. And 5 is already a single digit and it doesn't get broken down, so it stays the same. So at this point we have 9, 2, and 5. And we're going to add those numbers together. 9 plus 2 plus 5 is 16. So, again, we have a double-digit number, and we will break 16 down into 7 because 1 plus 6 is 7. So, the numerology score for the name Sue is 7. Now, this is the basis of translated words into numerology, and it's an important part of the process to understand this, and something that you need to know if you're going to start working with numerology. Numerology charts are often done for one person, or they can be made to compare two people who are in relationships. That's often done. Two people, it could be like a husband and a wife, a mother and a child, whatever. But you may want to see how you relate to someone else in a relationship with you. And so sometimes numerology reports are done on pairs of people. And the reports can tell about the inner workings of your life or of the two people in a relationship. So it's another way to get insight into the human inner working, the way we use astrology. To do that, we can use numerology to do the same. Now, a numerologist has to be able to make the connection between letters and numbers and be able to add and interpret the meanings behind the results of the numbers. So, numerology reports are often long and take quite a bit of time to finish. And reports are often based upon the name of a person, like I just gave in the example for Sue, but also it includes the birth date of a person and how that relates to their life as well. We see that again with astrology. We see it here with numerology as well. The name and date of birth are broken down into various equations that each mean something different in numerology. Now, a numerologist should only need the basic information, name and date of birth, to complete a natal numerology chart. So this is different than astrology, where they need the birth date, the time of birth, the location of birth. All of that is dependent on, or an astrological reading is dependent on that, because it takes into account the exact location of the planets at the exact moment and location of someone's birth. So that's why in an astrological reading, you need more detailed information than you do with a numerology reading. That's only going to generally need a person's name, perhaps a nickname if they don't go by their given name at birth, or a preferred name in terms of other issues where a birth name may not be the person's preferred name. And also the date of birth, but you don't generally need the location or time of birth for a numerology report. Okay. But sometimes if you're doing a more complex chart, they may need more additional information. And that's more in depth than a general natal numerology report. Now, relationship charts will require the name of both people and their birth dates. And it may require the date of a married couple's anniversary, depending on the type of relationship reading you're having done. Numerology requires a lot of skill to remember all the corresponding details of numbers and letters. A numerologist also has to learn the different meanings of the numbers and the different formulas for coming up with the results of a reading, and it can take some time to learn numerology, but it's not as difficult as it seems. Now, a good numerologist will be able to explain the process to their charts, to their clients, and be able to answer any questions that they may have. So keep that in mind if you're wanting to work with a numerologist, or if you're wanting to learn numerology yourself. So numerology is a form of divination and can be used on a smaller scale with other forms of divination like tarot readings, rune castings, astrological charts, that kind of thing. And I have one of my services, the Divine Life Blueprint that I offer for my clients, is a mixture of a numerology reading and an astrological reading. So I do a person's natal chart and a numerology natal chart, as well as a personality profile, all into that. So if you're interested in looking into that, I will have a link to it in the show notes for you, so you can check that out and see if it's something that you are interested in pursuing. But yeah, I offer that if you're interested. But anyway, numbers have always held special meanings, and they can add depth to different types of divination. And many readers associate numbers with their readings, and sometimes they may receive messages in the forms of numbers. So that's just a brief, or not so brief, how you look at it. Look into numerology, what it is, the basic overview of it, and then over the next few weeks, I don't know how many off the top of my head, but over the next few weeks, we will delve a little deeper into how numerology can be used for different types of readings. So keep a lookout for that. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Get Unstuck with Michele Leffler. It's truly been my pleasure to talk to you today. If you like this episode, or you think it will be useful for someone else, please consider leaving a review on your favorite podcast app. If you've got any questions, send me an email to hello@livingmoonmeditation.com. Here's to getting you unstuck so you can be grounded, joyful, and energetic. See you next time.